Hello, I'm William Gallagher, and this is 58 Keys, which, as always, is for writers. Writers like you and me who use and who write on, well, Macs and iPhones and iPads. Do subscribe or support 58 Keys on Patreon because, well, there's always so much to talk about. But maybe this time, maybe in this case, there's actually so much for me to listen to. For this is about Ulysses. Easily, I think, the best writing app for the Mac, the iPhone and the iPad that I no longer use. Just really quickly, let me tell you now, this is the one reason I don't happen to use it anymore. I loved it before. I can often need to write a line like this. He, the vicar, will pay for what he's done, said the judge. You recognise it. You know it's journalism bit there, square brackets. Clarify what someone is saying without actually altering what they said. You can't alter a quote. Of course you can. But if I try writing that same thing in Ulysses, Ulysses is what's called a markdown editor, and it interprets the square brackets as my wanting to add a link to a web page. There are ways around it, apparently, escape characters and things, but I don't need a way around it in a non-markdown editor, so that's what I use, non-markdown editors, loads of them. But I'm not kidding when I say that I think Ulysses is tremendous. So rather than have me schizophrenic or just reminiscing about the old days when I used to live in Ulysses and we had cobbled streets, let's exploit the fact that 58 Keys Patreon members really know their stuff. So this is called, well, I've been thinking of it as defending Ulysses, which is kind of a problem because I like Ulysses, I just don't use it. Here, though, are two of these people who do use it. And actually, I want to say first hello to Stuart, because Stuart, am I right that you're actually quite a new convert to Ulysses?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I got it from my Setapp subscription, and I had a go at it because I'd seen another YouTuber using or talking about using it for script writing and writing his pieces, but then giving it a go this time with the updated version, it felt useful for me for certainly for writing to my blog and my Substack feature, because it just allows you to write, and then go back and format, and then I can export it or publish it to I can't publish it to Substack, but certainly to WordPress, my blog, and without any trouble. And even better, I can time the blog to publish at a certain time.
So you sound like you used it and then you went away, but you came back.
Yeah,
Do you remember what it was was there a particular thing that drove you away?
I I didn't really. At the time I was using Pages and Scrivener, which I still am, but it didn't seem to offer anything different. Um, I tried Mars Edit to publish, but that didn't work with my blog at the time, the blog that I was using. Um, but then, so coming back to it and being able to and having a different blog, in a different place, and being able to use the features on it, and I found the markup quite easy to use. Although I do question whether they do go across it onto my blog correctly every time. But
Right.
yeah, it seems intuitive for what I've been using it for. I wouldn't say that I would try and use it for a book, but a lot of people do.
Well, funny you should say that. Actually, I do want to ask you about markup later. Don't let me not ask you about that because I'm intrigued and I don't know enough. Uh, Leopold, I mean, for one thing, you are a more long-standing Ulysses user. In fact, you called it your Scrivener. So
Yeah,
I
oh
take
yeah.
it you are writing. I know you're writing a book at the moment. Is it in Ulysses?
I'm writing a book at the moment, and it's already over 150,000 words with multiple illustrations, and it weighs in at over 7 GB, and it's as fast as it can be on an Intel iMac, which, which is part of the attraction. Ulysses,
Sorry, forget.
no, you go, William.
Well, it's just what were you using before Ulysses?
Ulysses was the first dedicated writing app for the Mac, full stop. It came out in 2003.
I
It
didn't know
wasn't
that.
terribly good. Then Scrivener came out, so I moved to Scrivener. And then they totally changed Ulysses back in 2016 away from a Scrivener-like app into the version you see today. And then I went back to it.
Actually, could you describe the version we have today? I didn't know there was a previous one. I've only seen it in what I mean, I shouldn't really call it a strange format, but it's an unusual way of running an app. How would you describe it to somebody who's never seen or tried Ulysses?
Down one side, you've got a library. Libraries can be groups of sheets or individual sheets or projects. A project is a book.
So, what's a sheet, though?
A sheet is a page or a chapter, whatever you want to make it.
So instead of
So I've got a sheet which is chapter 8 of my book, which is 16,000 words.
oh, right.
So that's obviously not just a page. On the other hand, I've got reference material about I don't know, Pope and the Rape of the Lock, which is a page and a half. That's also a sheet. It's basically a sheet is a document that you might move up, that you might move around in Scrivener, if you think about it that way. It is actually very similar to the way that they work together.
So yeah, it seems to me like
Do you want me to
because I,
show you? Is it easy to
yeah,
show?
yeah, that would be very good. Thank you. Oh,
So you,
right.
okay, so this is Ulysses. So that's Ulysses at the top level. A project is a book. This is my book. It's got content. Green means the color. You can color things however you want to. I color green done, purple under revision, and orange to be done. So that's the book. Each of these groups then has material within it. So in chapter 8, we've got chapter 8 of my book, and then there's a whole series of reference materials. It can look however you want to. So this is how I like it looking.
It's not too customizable. You don't spend your whole writing hour fiddling.
Well, no, they've got on their site, they've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of things that people have done. I have taken these, they're really easy to change, and I've got about 12 that I alternate with. So I call them main theme with a space at the start, because those are the ones I like. And it's just a question of going up and down and affecting the colors. But it means that because I'm quite color orientated, I have a layout which I don't need to think about because the colors themselves just jump out immediately in terms of the structure of the document.
Okay, that is clever. I didn't know that. I like that.
The other thing it does, they ought to employ me really, is it does backups. It does a time machine thing. So you can literally go back in time.
Uh, it's a question for both of you then. It seems to me that yes, Ulysses is good for grouping your current project, but actually everything goes in there. Uh, so actually, Leopold, you got one massive book. Do you have other completely different projects in there?
Not full projects in there. I've got bits and bobs from over the years, pathetic attempts to do poetry and stuff like that. But most of it is the book.
Okay.
But you can have as many books in there as you want to, clearly.
Stuart, do you have?
I've got two projects, which is basically my blog and my Substack. So when I write, I'll write in the main screen, and then it sort of it saves a bit like day one, where it just piles on top of each other, and then what I do is just drag them into the right project.
It sounds to me like it's quite a manual process of how you decide when you're about to send something out to a blog or whatever. You pick the sheets and then you do something with it. Is there any kind of, well, actually, Stuart, you said you were able to send automatically to
Yeah,
at
well,
least your WordPress.
yeah, what I do, so I have that in the main writing screen, and then if you go up to the file, and there's a whole load of let me get my cursor in the right place. There are a whole load of shortcuts which I'm slowly learning, which is a real first for me because I'm not a great shortcut user. But you can
Join us.
export. Yeah,
Shortcuts, join
yeah.
us. Okay.
You can export to PDF or whatever source you want to publish it to export it to, and then you publish it, and it gives you the option of about half a dozen different
Oh, well,
uh,
but there's loads more again, because if you
yeah,
go to their style sheet thing, there's hundreds of different PDF and Word are the same thing. Then
yeah,
there's
yeah.
then there's EPUB and HTML and
That's yeah,
plain text.
yeah,
But the outputs of these things are written in basically CSS, and there is which I'm not proficient in, but there is a little plugin for BB Edit, which means that you can edit each of these things to your heart's content. So in the same way that I had like 12 different color layouts for the screens, I've got about 15 different outputs which I've tailored the fonts down to quite a complex level, because as I think I've said before, part of the thing about the book is it's in lots of different typefaces and to try to show some of the fragmentation that's going on. So that means just like exporting Times New Roman isn't very helpful for me. So if you're prepared to put a little bit of work in with BB Edit, you can change the outputs to be anything you want to.
Is there anything in Ulysses? Well, actually, go with Stuart first because you did wander away from it. Is there anything you're finding now that you don't like in Ulysses?
not at the moment, and that's not saying that I will find something or I won't. Uh, I think what I'm finding is the ease of what I'm using it for. Um, if I was using it to write journalism, you're sort of pointing out some things that it might not be ideal for, or not intuitive, so you just write it and write the piece, which is what at the end that's what we're trying to do. But for what I'm using for stuff that I'm exporting to onto the web, onto the blog and the Substack, it seems good for that. Whether I would use it to write a book, I don't know. I mean, I've got one complete block and two part written books in Scrivener, so I'm not in the process of going to take them out of there and try them into um, um, try them into this. But I've got a short story, as I say, that I've started writing this morning, and but I do intend to sort of send that out via electronic means to probably put it on my blog. It's a Christmas one. It's something I just want to send around to work people and to my writing group at Ottery. Just something to do, and it's a bit of a time travel. That's you going back in time, so there's an influence from you again. But yeah, it's going to work for that. But for mince pies and for my first novel, it I don't think it. For me, I don't think it'll work. I can see how you can work it, and it might be worth giving it a go at some point, with a sort of novella type one, so it's not too big.
One thing I've got to point out, because I mean, you said the words and you saw me smile. Mince pies, the mince pie murders. I
Yes.
just love that title. So how about this? Mince Pie Murders 2. This time it's fig rolls or something. Do that in Ulysses. Okay,
Yeah, that
just
could
for
be. That could be. Yeah,
that could be a little.
yeah. That's a good one. Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas Leopold, I mean, you said earlier they should pay you for this. What if they weren't? Well, they aren't, are they? What if someone was paying you against it or something? Is there anything in your, I mean, extremely well-informed use of it that you don't
No,
produce?
it's my favorite app by a long way. You'd have to pay me a lot of money to go back to Scrivener after using it. It's so much faster. It just flows so much better. And it works really well on the iPad, and it doesn't have the sync problems that Scrivener's got. It syncs because it's using iCloud rather than Dropbox. And I know it's a subscription, whether it directly or via setup, but there's 2 or 3 major versions each year. I can't remember when the last version Ulysses was. I'm sorry, I can't remember the last time Scrivener was updated.
Oh,
So
that's
they're
a
an
good
active
thing.
team developing things.
So it's significantly supported, significantly
Yeah,
updated.
yeah.
Okay. And I hadn't thought about the cross-platform stuff. I mean, there are technical reasons why Scrivener has to use Dropbox instead of iCloud, and I think it does it fine given those constraints. But to not have to think about it at all,
Yeah.
that sounds good. Okay.
But there's no PC version of Ulysses, whereas obviously there is a PC version of Scrivener.
Yeah, it's fine. We don't care.
No, we don't. No, we don't care.
That's why I bought a MacBook.
Thank you to 58 Keys patrons Leopold Green and Stuart Beaverstone. See you two at our next live writing sprint, where I might be in Scrivener still. We'll see. If you would like to become a 58 Keys patron, it would be a treat to have you. Links and details below, all of that stuff. But perhaps just slightly more urgently, if you want to try out Ulysses now and you haven't before, well, you can get a free trial of the Mac, the iPhone and the iPad versions via the App Store, or go to the official website, ulysses.app, for details. Then, when you want to buy it, Ulysses is a subscription app that costs $40 per year. Or you heard Stuart, actually, he mentioned that he gets Ulysses in his Setup subscription. Setup, if you don't happen to have come across it before, it's a subscription that offers 200 or more full Mac apps, including quite a few writing ones such as Ulysses, and Setup costs from $10 or £10 per month. That's it for this edition of 58 Keys. Thank you very much for watching. Now take care of yourself, eh? Write more in any app you like, and I'll see you soon.